May I approach the witness, please?
Yes.
Yes, please. Madam Clerk, is 276 in evidence? I don't believe it is. 276.
It hasn't been identified yet.
All right. I'm showing you now exhibit number 276, which is 2 separate sheets, the second one having 2 documents in it, front and back. And do we have that pen that you had initially? And again, on the vinyl of 276, not on the document itself, perhaps right here, tell us what. Let's mark A for 276A. And is that an envelope?
Yes, it is.
To whom?
To me.
From whom?
From my old landlord.
Okay. At the Soto Street address?
Yes.
And the address to where that was sent?
The address where it was sent was my mother's home address.
In El Monte?
In El Monte.
Let's go to the second document. No B and mark that B. If you would, please, on the vinyl again.
You have to speak into the microphone.
Oh.
And does that appear to be a letter?
Yes.
Is your name typed on the end of that letter?
Yes, it is typed.
And is that your signature above it?
No, it's not my signature.
Would you read the content of that letter, please? To yourself.
Oh, okay, okay.
All right. What does that letter purport to do?
What does?
What does the letter say?
Oh, it says basically, should I read it or just summarize?
Go ahead and read it.
It says, I, Janet Arvizo, who have lived in apartment 208, have spoken to Yolanda about ending my lease. As of March 1, 2003, my apartment is cleaned and I have officially moved out as per the conversation. This letter is official notification of the monthly lease on apartment 208's termination.
And what is the date of the letter itself?
March 4, 2003.
Did you, in fact, sign that letter?
No, I didn't.
Turn the letter over, this document. No. B. Over. Is there another letter on that?
Yes, there is.
Is your name on that?
The printed name is on it.
Is there a signature above your printed name?
Yes, there's a signature.
Is that, in fact, your signature?
It is not my signature.
Read that letter to yourself.
Okay, okay.
And what does that document say?
It says, as per my conversation with Yolanda, the official final liabilities owed to the management is an amount of $850. This is an official receipt of this liability owed to the building manager and fully absolves me of any further payment. Upon signing this form, the management of the apartment building on 807 North Soto Street, Los Angeles, California, for my apartment, apartment 208, recognizes payment in full, and no other monies to be received by the management of this building from me, Janet Arvizo. And I am fully free of any debts owed to the management.
All right. Were these letters sent to you?
Yes.
Were they sent? Who sent these letters to you?
The landlord did.
Was that after you had already moved out?
Yes.
Who is it you were talking to about moving out of your apartment? In other words, who at Neverland was it that you were talking to about moving out?
Frank and Vinny.
At some point in time, did you give them the key to that apartment?
I think they had taken the key from me. I think, maybe. I don't know.
Do you have a recollection of how they got the key?
No, I don't remember.
What were your feelings about moving out of your apartment at that time?
Remember how I said I would think about it? Well, at this time now it's a no.
All right. Did you tell them no, you didn't want to move out of your apartment?
That's correct.
Do you know where your possessions went to after they moved you out?
No, I do not.
Did they ever tell you where your possessions were moved to?
No, they didn't. That's another reason why I needed Mr. Dickerman's help after I left Neverland.
Did anybody tell you that they were put into storage?
No.
Did you ever return to that apartment on Soto Street after you left Neverland at the time?
No.
Did you talk to anybody at Neverland about the boys being withdrawn from school?
Until afterwards.
I'm sorry, afterwards of what?
Until after they had checked Davellin out.
All right. Now, Davellin was going to school where at the time?
She was going to school at Roosevelt High School, which was down the street from my Soto Street apartment.
So that was in East Los Angeles?
In East LA, it's even on Soto Street, the high school.
Now, let me back you up just a little bit, before you went off to Miami.
Okay.
I think you had testified that you were living part-time at Jay Jackson's apartment in Mid-Wilshire.
I was visiting.
And part-time at Soto Street?
I lived in Soto Street.
The address that you used for the boys to go to the school that they were in on Wilshire.
First they attended Hollenbeck.
Okay.
They attended Hollenbeck. This is a school down the street from Soto Street. And because the boys were not involved in any gangs, they kept getting beat up, because they wouldn't join any gangs. And so I told Jay about it, and so moved them to another school within the same LA school district.
And the school that you moved them to was which one?
John Burroughs.
And John Burroughs is located where?
It's near Jay's apartment.
Did you use Jay's address to be able to do that?
Yes, I did.
And
also they became aware of that afterwards, but it was already on the record and they were okay with it.
Okay. Now, where were you actually residing during that period of time prior to going to Miami?
In my East LA apartment.
Alright. Would you spend the nights at Jay's apartment as well?
Yes, sir, I did.
Can you give us a sense of how many nights a week you would be at the East LA apartment and how many nights a week you would be at Jay's apartment, on average?
Depending if Jay had to work later, it all depended upon Jay's work.
Alright. Now, when you stayed at Jay's apartment during the week, where did Davellin stay?
She always stood in, and this is what would happen. We'd all stay there in East LA. She'd go to school, and then I'd take off on the bus to drop off the boys. And then I'd go to Jay's apartment, clean his apartment, do anything to just make myself serviceable.
Alright. On the nights that you actually stayed overnight at Jay's apartment?
Yes.
During the week, where would Davellin stay?
Okay, when that would happen, I would contact my parents, and so since my dad has like a swing shift, he's a truck driver, my dad. I would let my parents know, and then so they'd go by the apartment and go pick up Davellin.
Alright, let me move you back now to this period from the 2nd to the 10th of March, and back at Neverland again.
Okay.
Did you have a discussion with anybody at Neverland about checking your kids out of school?
Yes, after Davellin was checked out.
Alright, did you have a discussion with anybody about checking Davellin out of school?
No.
Before you checked her out of school?
No.
Did Davellin check out of school?
They checked Davellin out of school.
Did you know that they were doing that in advance?
No, I did not know.
And that was from Roosevelt School?
That was Roosevelt.
In East LA?
East LA, yes.
Now, was Davellin out of school this entire period of time?
Yeah, they're off track. So I don't know if they're familiar here with track.
Well, let me see if we can figure this out. From the period of time in early February when you first went to Miami.
There's a portion.
Hold on. There's no question pending.
I'm sorry.
From the time you went to Miami in early February until the 10th of March, was Davellin going back to high school at all?
I can't remember, but I think Davellin was off track. Off track means you don't go to school during that period.
This is one of those schools where students
Yes.
attend.
It's year-round school.
It's one of those schools where students attend at different times.
Yes.
And it's sometimes not necessarily in the summertime.
Yes.
They are out of school?
Yes. And I think that's the best I can remember.
Now, as to the boys, did you have a conversation with anybody at Neverland about the boys being checked out of school?
Okay, this is when Frank and Vinny holler at me that I have to sign this paper. That's why it came to a point where my signing days were over. I had to sign a paper for them to check out the boys, but with Davellin, they did it without my signature. They did it themselves.
I'd like to show you a document now, or a couple documents. If I may approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Exhibit number 271. Do you have a pen there?
Yes, I do.
Exhibit number 271 for identification. Not in evidence, for identification. Mark that first one on there, A, and then we're going to move on to the second one. Let's go to 271B. Mark that, B, and tell me what that is.
This one?
Yes.
Okay, it says, checkout sheet.
From where?
From John Burroughs.
Alright. Is
my boys' school.
John Burroughs Middle School?
Yes.
Is this for one of your sons?
Yes. This is for Gavin.
Alright. Is there a date on that?
It says March 6, 2003.
Is there a signature on that document?
Yes, there is. It says, parent's signature.
And whose signature is it?
It's Vinny's.
Alright. It says, date of birth, on there?
Yes.
Is that Gavin's birth?
That is Gavin's birth date.
Does it indicate where the new address is going to be for this child, for this student?
Yes. It says, city is Phoenix. The state is Arizona.
Alright. Is this in your handwriting at all?
Not in my writing at all.
Did you ever see this document?
I've never seen this document before.
Alright. Before today or before the grand jury?
Before, I think it was the grand jury. I think that time. Or before.
But at the time all this was happening.
At that time, no.
Back on March 6, 2003.
No.
Did you ever see that document?
No.
Now, did anybody talk to you about moving to Arizona, to Phoenix?
No. Except in that letter, the letter with the Phoenix, Arizona, that you showed me.
Oh, alright.
That one.
But conversations?
Conversation. No.
Nobody had a conversation with you at Neverland about you moving to Phoenix, Arizona?
No, 0.
Did either Vinny or Frank mention Phoenix, Arizona, to you?
No, 0.
Did either of them indicate where they wrote on these checkout forms where they were moving you to?
It says right here, new address.
But in conversations that you may have had with Vinny and Frank at the time?
No, it was Brazil.
This is B. Let's go to C, if we can, right here. Mark that one, C.
This is what I'm talking about.
Alright. Would you take a look a moment at that document?
Okay.
Have you ever seen that document before?
Yes, this is the one with.
Is your signature on that?
Yes, this one has my signature.
And read that document.
It says, I, Janet Arvizo, allow Vincent Armenta to check out my son Gavin Anton Arvizo from John Burroughs. From Burroughs Middle School. He will be placed in another school district in Phoenix, Arizona, where a current new residence is being sought.
That is your signature?
Yes, it is.
And written, typed below is the name, Janet Arvizo.
Yes.
Is this the letter you're referring to?
Yes, this is what I was talking about.
Now, at the time that you signed that, did you talk to them about, what's the business with Phoenix, Arizona?
And they said this way nobody would be able to find me or the kids.
This is C. Let's go to D, please.
Okay.
Go ahead and write D on that. What is D?
D is my driver's license. Oh, that's another thing they had.
Just tell us what it is right now.
My driver's license.
And who else?
Vinny's driver's license.
At some point in time did somebody tell you that they needed a copy of your driver's license?
No, they took my driver's license.
Alright. Who is they?
Frank and Vinny.
Well, did both of them take it?
Yes. Frank was present when Vinny took it. So.
Tell me what you mean by, took it. What did they do?
They said, let me have your driver's license.
And did you hand it over to them?
Yes, I did. At that point I was doing everything they said.
Was it about this time that you did that?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll do that. Exhibit number 272. At this time number 272. Would you tell us what that is, please?
It's John Burroughs Middle School checkout sheet.
That's for who?
For my son Star.
Is this the same form as the one that we had previously looked at for Gavin?
Yes. And it says, Star David Arvizo.
His full name is on there?
Yes, his full name is on there.
This one also states you're going to Phoenix, Arizona?
This one also states I'm going to Phoenix, Arizona.
Put an A on that. So that's 272A. And we'll turn it over.
And the parent's signature is not mine.
There is a spot for parent's signature?
Yes.
And whose signature is that?
It's not mine. It's Vinny's.
Did he sign his own name?
Yes, he did. And it says, date of birth, the 11th of December 1990.
Is that, in fact, Star's birthday?
Yes, it is.
And Vinny, I'm assuming, is not his parent?
Yes, it's O.
This is A. This is B.
Yes.
Right here. Mark B on that, please. And that document is that the same document. However, the letter, that's signed by you, except this one is for Star.
Exactly.
And that is, in fact, your signature?
Yes, it is my signature.
Your Honor, I would like to move into evidence exhibit. Exhibit number 276, which would be A and B, which is the envelope as well as the letter dealing with the landlord. And I would so move at this time.
No foundation.
It's admitted.
I'm sorry, the court's ruling?
It is admitted.
All right. I would also move to introduce into evidence 271, as to B, C, D, and 272A and B.
No objection.
It's admitted.
May I publish a few of these documents at this time?
Yes.
Let's start with 271B and C. May we have input 4, Your Honor? Now, this is the John Burroughs Middle School checkout sheet, is that right?
Yes.
And who's the student?
The student is Gavin Anton Arvizo.
And the printing on that, the handwritten printing on that, is that yours?
No, it isn't.
All right. Was this filled out in your presence?
No.
And again, this is a document you did not see until a court proceeding in Santa Barbara?
Correct.
Parent's signature, that's Vinny's?
Yes.
And the date of birth, is that right?
Yes.
And this is the document that indicates Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes.
Let's go to the next one, please. Exhibit C from that same exhibit, is this the letter, then?
Yes.
And that is your signature?
It is my signature.
And then 276B on the front side. What happened to our laser? Put it on so both signatures are on there. And then the second down here, where it says, Janet Arvizo, is that your signature?
No, it isn't.
All right. Do you know if that is Yolanda Lizaldi's signature?
Yes, it is.
And then turn it over. This is the second letter that you identified. And that signature here, is that your signature?
No, it isn't.
Okay. You can turn on the lights. I'd like to move you ahead to the 10th of March, if I may.
Okay.
You told us that you had a pre-existing schedule requiring a visit again back at Kaiser Hospital. Is that right?
Yes.
And what exactly was it that Gavin had to do in preparation for that visit?
He had to, well, actually the creatinine clearance, Mr. Zonen, had to be turned in immediately. The creatinine clearance, that had to be turned in immediately after the doctor's visit, which was way back in February 25th.
Objection. Your Honor. Non-responsive. Move to strike.
Sustained. Stricken.
I want to be very specific about the questions that I ask.
Okay.
And the answers that you give.
Okay.
The purpose of the visit on the 10th of March was for what?
Just to check his kidney.
And was there a requirement that he had to furnish a urine sample?
That was required since February 25th.
Okay. And why?
I had to do that the next day.
Why didn't you do it on February 25th?
Because they didn't let me. They didn't want me to go back to Kaiser to turn it in.
Did he have an examination that had to take place on the 10th as well?
Yes.
And the examination was to do what?
Was to check his kidney.
Alright. Did they, in fact, do that at that time?
Object to the word, they. Move to strike.
Sustained. Stricken.
Did he have an examination of some kind at Kaiser Hospital on the 10th?
Yes.
And what was the examination that he had?
To check the inside of his kidney.
Were you present during that exam?
Yes.
And did that exam take place?
And so was Vinny.
And that exam took place?
Yes.
Now, the creatinine clearance. Tell us what that is, please.
The creatinine clearance is a 24-hour urine collection to check on Gavin's kidney.
And was there some piece of equipment that he had to have to collect it in?
Yes. It's a big, giant jug it's made to collect urine.
Now, I'm told that this is not a used exhibit.
Okay.
And this is number 349. Can you tell us if this exhibit number 349 is similar or dissimilar?
It's similar, but it's not it.
It's not the same?
No.
Tell us how that is different from the one that you had.
Okay. It doesn't have this thing, at all. It's just completely closed.
Alright. Is the configure, and the thing that you're saying, this thing?
The cap. The cap.
The cap is different on it?
Yes.
Alright. Now, the cap on the one that you had, did it close in the same fashion?
It closed. It's completely closed, sealed.
So there wasn't a part that you could open up?
There is no part that you can open up like that.
On the one that you had, did it twist closed?
Yes.
In the same fashion?
Yes. Yes.
Was it?
It's similar, the bottle, though.
The bottle and the size was similar?
Yes.
The cap on the one that you had, did it close to the same extent?
Completely sealed, because...
You need to wait until the question is asked in its entirety.
Okay.
The top, did it seal closed to the same extent that this one does?
Yes.
So it twisted closed?
Yes.
Alright. The one that you had, was it as secure as the one that this is?
Yes.
Okay. Alright. Now, was the color the same?
Yes, just about.
Alright. Where did you get that particular container, the one that?
At Kaiser at the laboratory.
Alright. Was that on the 25th?
That was on the 25th. And I was supposed to do that.
Did you have a specific time schedule for returning it?
Immediately.
Alright. And it wasn't done until the 10th?
It wasn't done.
Alright. Whose idea was it to do it around the time of the 10th?
Objection. Foundation.
Overruled. You may answer.
Go ahead and answer.
Every time. I had done these creatinine clearance already for years, since the year 2000.
Objection. Non-responsive.
Sustained.
Again, you need to listen to the question.
Okay.
Whose idea was it to do it the 10th, you or somebody else?
I had kept having Gavin do the urine clearance, and every time there was an excuse why it couldn't get turned in. It was lost. The urine wasn't continued.
Objection. Non-responsive. Move to strike.
That's my answer.
No, you need to listen to the question.
Sustained.
Who decided to do it on the 10th?
I did.
Alright, that was the question.
But there was many times before.
Hold on.
Move to strike is non-responsive.
Hold on. We'll take care of it.
Sustained.
You need to listen to the question being asked. Did you then give this container to Gavin to do this urine collection?
It had been given to him since the 25th.
So he had it in his possession?
Yes. Yes.
Alright. Did you have a conversation with Gavin about him collecting his urine?
Yes.
At about that time?
Yes.
Was it at least 24 hours prior to your going back to Los Angeles?
Yes, it had to be.
Did you talk with him about collecting the urine during that time?
Yes. From the doctors.
Yes. And, now, this is something he had done previously, is that right?
Yes. For years already.
Now, to your understanding, did he begin collecting his urine?
He started collecting it from I think it was from the 2nd on, when we returned to Neverland. Because from the 25th to the 2nd when we were in the hotel, Frank had taken them away from us, because we weren't going to go to the doctors anymore.
I didn't understand that. Frank actually took one of these containers away?
Yes, he took it away from Gavin.
At the hotel?
At the motel.
You had one of these at the hotel?
Yes.
Did you have a conversation with Gavin at Neverland about turning in this urine?
No, I didn't. I had told Vinny and Vinny had told Gavin. It was like I said, no more contact with my children from when we returned to.
At some time prior to your going back to Los Angeles, did Gavin call you?
Yes. On March 10th.
All right. Did he say something to you concerning the urine?
Yes.
What?
It was about 4 a.m.
Objection. Non-responsive and hearsay.
All strike after. Yes.
What did he tell you about his urine sample?
Objection. Hearsay.
It would be a spontaneous declaration and an excitable utterance.
No foundation.
It also explains the conduct of the parties thereafter.
I'll overrule the objection.
All right. What did he say to you about the urine sample?
He called me about 4 a.m., and he had phoned into the guest house, into the room I was. And he had told me, Mommy, we need to reschedule, because this was the end.
Just tell us what he said.
Okay, every time I wanted to do a creatinine clearance, they would always say no. Finally, I was using this appointment.
Objection. Non-responsive. Move to strike.
You need to tell us. The question specifically is, what did Gavin tell you?
Gavin had called me about 4 a.m., and he had told me that Michael was scared because he had drank some Jesus juice, that it was going to be detected in his urine. And that's when I told him, Baby, what do you mean?
Wait. Stop. He just asked what Gavin said.
Oh, okay.
Just stop.
Did you know what Jesus juice was?
I had asked what Jesus juice was.
Did he tell you what Jesus juice was?
Wine.
Was this the first time you knew that he had been?
This is the first time.
You need to listen to the question. Was this the first time you had learned that Gavin was drinking alcohol?
Yes.
When did you leave to go to the hospital?
From 4 a.m. I didn't sleep anymore. I tried to get them up about 6 o'clock. Nobody could find Gavin, so we left there in the morning.
What do you mean, nobody could find Gavin?
They couldn't find Gavin.
Did
the security people. And they said that, they're with Michael, and that was it. That they needed Jesus's help to locate Michael with the boys.
All right. Now, how did you find Gavin that morning? How were you able to find Gavin?
Well, finally Jesus brought him over.
At what time was that?
That was, I don't know. We were supposed to leave Neverland at 7 o'clock, and I know we didn't because.
Objection. Non-responsive. Move to strike.
I can't, so it had to be after 7 o'clock, because we didn't leave at.
Just a moment.
Okay, yes, sir.
I'll strike that. Ask the question again.
Do you know what time it was you left Neverland?
No, it was after 7 o'clock, my best estimate.
Were you up from 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yes.
Was Gavin with you when you left?
Yes. And so was Vinny.
Did you have the container of urine with you?
Yes.
Who was holding on to the container?
Gavin handed it to me.
So you were holding on to it during the drive?
Yes. Oh, yes, I was.
Where were you sitting in the car?
I was sitting in the front of the car, in the front seat, and Gavin handed it to me.
All right. Did you hold on to it for the length of the drive?
Yes, I did.
Where was Gavin sitting?
Gavin was laid out, passed out in the back seat.
He was asleep?
In deep sleep.
And was it Vinny who was driving?
Yes, it was Vinny.
Anybody else in the car?
No, just me, Vinny, and me, Vinny and Gavin, and those people.
At some point in time, did you stop on your way to the hospital?
Yes.
Why did you stop?
I had to go. I had to use the restroom really bad, because I had been drinking the whole entire time to keep me up, so I wouldn't fall back to sleep.
Drinking what?
I kept drinking coffee.
Okay. You had to use the restroom?
Yes.
Where did you stop?
I stopped at Denny's, and I tried to hold it so much.
Do you know where it was that you stopped?
No.
The location?
No.
Do you know how long you were in the car at the time that you stopped to use the restroom?
I don't know. My best estimate, maybe halfway.
Did you then go into the restaurant?
Yes, I went into Denny's.
When you came back out, where was the car?
Gone.
How long did you wait for the car to return?
Maybe about not more than 5 minutes. It was just minutes.
Was Gavin still asleep in the back?
He was asleep.
All right. And did you talk to Vinny about where he had been?
Yeah. I asked him, where did you go? He says, oh, I went driving around. I'm thinking, we've just been driving for a long time. Why would you need to drive anymore?
Did you get back in the car and proceed to the hospital?
Yes.
Did you notice the urine sample at that time?
Yes.
What did you notice about the urine sample?
I noticed that the bag had been moved a little bit, okay?
It was in a bag?
Yes, in a paper bag, okay. So then I said, okay, so then I picked it up. And when I picked it up, when it had urine, it's heavy. And it was light. And there was only, do I continue? There was only this much urine in it.
All right. Did you ask Vinny, was the top sealed back on?
It was sealed back on and it was like a little bit wet.
All right.
And it wasn't closed tight, though, because when Gavin had handed it to me, it's customarily that I always check the cap.
Objection. Move to strike. Non-responsive.
Stricken.
When you noticed that the container was missing, did you say anything to Vinny?
The container wasn't missing. It was.
The content of the container was substantially less than before, is that right?
Yes. I asked him. It was only this much in there.
How much had been in there up to that time?
Almost this way.
And by this way, you mean about 90?
About this full.
About 90% full?
About this full. And then there was this much after I went to Denny's.
Maybe 10% full?
About this much.
Okay.
I don't know percent.
That's okay. All right. Did you ask him what happened?
Yes. I said, what happened?
What did he say?
And he didn't answer me. And then he just commented, oh, it must have fallen.
I'm sorry?
He commented, because he didn't answer me. And then he said, it must have fallen. And that's it. I knew at that point, zip the lip.
All right. But were you able to tell?
Move to strike. Non-responsive.
Stricken.
Were you able to tell whether urine had spilled into the car or not?
There was no urine odor, wasn't wet, nothing like that.
You weren't able to see any evidence that urine spilled inside.
That's right.
Listen to the question in its entirety. You weren't able to see any evidence of urine having been spilled anywhere inside the car?
That's correct.
Did you ask Vinny to explain how it happened?
I asked him what happened. He didn't answer, but afterwards he had commented.
What did he comment to you about?
It must have fallen.
Did you continue on to Kaiser Hospital?
Yes, I did. And I stood quiet.
And did Gavin, in fact, have the test that he was supposed to have at that time?
Objection. Foundation.
I'll withdraw the question. Did Gavin go into the hospital?
Yes.
With you?
Yes.
Was Vinny there?
Yes.
Was the urine sample turned in?
Yeah, I turned it in and.
Objection. Non-responsive. Move to strike.
The question is, was it turned in, and she said yes.
The objection is overruled.
All right. Where did you turn it in?
Into the laboratory.
Did you talk with anybody there about the content of the bottle?
They said.
Objection. Hearsay.
The question is, did you?
Yes.
Yes or no? Okay. And did you at that time turn it in?
Yes.
Prior to your leaving the car to go to the restroom, how tight was the top of that container?
It was.
Wait till the question is answered. Sick.
Okay.
How tight was the top of the container screwed onto the container?
It was tight.
Was that your habit and custom each time?
It was a habit and custom, because I always had to travel with the urine on a bus, so.
Do you know how long you were at the hospital, Kaiser Hospital, with Vinny and with Gavin?
Well, when I went to go try to turn that into the laboratory, and then we went to the appointment, which was in a different building.
Alright. And after you left that building, where did you go?
Then I went to the apartment.
You went to whose apartment?
Jay's apartment.
Was Jay there?
Jay was not there.
Was Vinny with you?
Vinny was with me.
Was Gavin with you?
Gavin was with me, but they didn't go into the apartment.
How long did you stay at the apartment?
Long enough to ask Jay to meet me at the nail shop.
Alright. Did you call Jay from the nail shop or from the apartment?
I called him from the apartment and told him to, because since they're monitoring my phone calls, like I told you how I would speak to people. And then I told him, oh, why don't you meet me at the nail shop?
Alright. Did you then go to the nail shop?
I did go to the nail shop.
Was he there when you got there?
No, he wasn't there.
Did you have whatever they do at a nail shop done?
No, I had used their phone. I had waited for Vinny to cross the street, and that's when I did it.
What do they do? Manicures at a nail shop?
They do manicuring and waxing there.
Did you have any of that done?
I had done only a leg wax.
Did you have a manicure?
No.
Where was Vinny while you were having a leg wax done?
Okay, he had came in.
No. Where was Vinny when you were doing?
Me, Vinny and Gavin, when we originally arrived at the nail shop, we were all three together.
And while you were having this procedure?
No.
Where was he?
First Vinny checked the area out. And then I told her, I came here for a leg wax.
While you were having the leg wax, where was Vinny?
Then he saw that I was going to do the leg wax, and then that's when he walked across the street.
So he left?
Yes.
Where was Gavin?
With him.
He was with him?
Yes.
Did Jay eventually arrive?
That's when I called Jay to come.
So you called him a second time?
Yes.
From the beauty salon?
Yes.
And did he, in fact, come?
Yes, he did.
Now, did you go back with Vinny?
No.
At some point in time, did Vinny come back and see Jay?
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
He turned red.
Vinny did?
Yes.
Alright. Did Vinny say something to Jay or to you?
He said, okay, let's go now, Janet.
What did you say in response to that?
I told him that I kind of wanted to stay since I had a family court appointment the next day. And so I used that as a reason why I could stay, me and Gavin.
Alright. Did you want to stay with Gavin?
Yes.
Your other two children were still at Neverland?
Yes. But I had to do everything as if, not to raise suspicion.
Did you say something to Vinny specifically that you were not going back?
Yes.
What did he say?
No, that's not part of the plan.
Now, was Gavin standing there at the time?
Yes.
How was Gavin behaving?
At that time he's just observing.
Alright.
It's until he talks to Frank that he becomes distressed.
Are you aware as to whether or not Vinny got on the phone with anyone?
Yes, he did. He goes, I got to call Frank.
And did he, in fact, call Frank?
Yes, he did.
Did he have a conversation with Frank in your presence?
Yes, he did.
Were you able to hear what he was saying to Frank?
No, but Gavin got on the phone calls.
You noticed that Gavin was on the phone as well?
Yes, because Vinny wanted to talk to Frank, to Gavin. Frank wanted to talk to Gavin.
Was Jay Jackson there during this conversation?
Yes.
Was Jay Jackson in uniform?
Yes.
And what kind of a uniform does he wear during the day?
His military uniform. A camouflage.
Camouflage. That's his daily uniform, is that right?
Yes. That's his work uniform.
At some point in time, was it decided who was going to go back to Neverland and who was going to stay?
Jay got upset that Vinny had said no. So then Jay he starts becoming a little bit, I don't know if confrontational is a correct word. I don't know, but a little, you can see that he's upset. So and then that's when another time he goes out right there, right outside the nail shop door. And then that's when I tell Jay, I said, please, Jay, please, Davellin and Star are there. Just play along. Just play along.
So who went back to Neverland?
Vinny and Gavin.
Why did you agree for Gavin to go back to Neverland?
Well, because when Vinny came back, I said, Vinny, I just want to spend some time alone with Jay. You know, that kind of stuff. That's all. You know, we'll see each other back in the family court. You know, you just bring all my kids, and I'll go back. I just kind of want to spend some of that kind of time, quality time, with Jay. So then when he saw me behave that way, then he says, okay. He agreed to that.
Alright, family court?
Yeah.
Alright, tell us about family court. Did you have an appearance in family court?
Oh, yes.
And when was that appearance scheduled for?
It was the next day.
And had you already told them about that?
Yes.
The family court appearance?
Yes.
Who is it that you told about the family court appearance?
Frank and Vinny knew.
Did you know whether or not your children had to be at that appearance at family court?
I knew that they didn't have to be there. But again, it's like that orthodontist visit. I had said they had to be there.
Objection. Non-responsive. Move to strike.
I'll strike after. I knew they didn't have to be there.
The question was whether you knew whether or not the kids had to be there. And the answer was you knew?
I knew they didn't have to be there.
They didn't have to be there. Did you tell Frank or Vinny?
No, I didn't tell them that. I told them that they had to be there.
And who was it you told, Frank or Vinny or both?
Both.
What was the purpose of the family court session on the 11th?
Because I was finally going to be awarded support.
Alright, it was a spousal support, or a child support.
Spousal support, child support, all that.
Were you represented by an attorney during that time?
Yes, I was.
Who was the attorney?
Michael Manning.
Family law lawyer?
Yes. That I've had for years, already years.
Alright, did Vinny represent that he would or would not bring the children back for this appearance?
He said he will bring all 3 of my kids back.
Did you spend the night in Los Angeles?
Yes, I did.
The next day was the family court appearance?
Yes. And now I've told Jay everything that night.
So you had a complete conversation?
Told him everything.
Alright, now, did you have an understanding with Vinny as to how you would get to the family court appearance the next day?
Yes. The condition.
Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
Okay, you're doing better.
Okay.
Alright, now, at what time was that appearance?
The appearance, I don't remember, but maybe 8 o'clock or...
It was a morning appearance?
It was a morning.
How were you going to get to the court appearance?
The condition was Vinny was going to pick me up and take me there.
And the kids?
With him.
Alright, did Vinny arrive the next morning?
He did. He went all the way to Neverland and arrived early that morning.
Alright, when he arrived, did he have the kids with him?
He had no kids with him.
Did he explain to you why the kids weren't there?
He said I had to go back.
He said you had to go back?
I had to go back.
Alright, did you go to the family court appearance with Vinny?
I did.
And at the conclusion of the family court appearance, where did you go?
I went back to Jay's.
Did he take you back to Jay's?
He took me back to Jay's.
You did not go back to Neverland?
I didn't go back to Neverland.
Did you ever go back to Neverland?
I never went back to Neverland.
Now, this is now the 11th of March, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Did you engage in some effort at this point to get your kids delivered to Los Angeles?
I did.
All right. What was this effort? What did you do?
When Jay came home, we called Karen Walker, the supervisor of the, I don't know, CPS, DCFS, that. And I and Jay both talked to her, and she said, "It's out of my hands. It's out of my hands. Go get yourself some legal help. I'm sorry, I can't help you." That's what she said.
Was Karen
Walker said that.
Hold on. Was Karen Walker one of the three that had been to Jay's?
Yes.
Listen to the whole question. Was Karen Walker one of the three workers who had been to Jay's apartment on the day of that interview on the 20th?
Yes.
Now, after you called Karen Walker, what did you then do?
She didn't help us, me or Jay. We both talked to them, and so we were trying to find a way where we can go get the kids where they wouldn't do anything before we got the kids.
What did you decide to do?
For my parents to play sick. Specifically my dad.
So did you have one of your parents call Neverland?
Okay, when Jay returned to work, he called from his work, because now he's aware that our phone calls are being monitored.
So he called from work to whom?
To my parents.
And talked with who, your father?
With my dad, and, well, my dad and mom. But my mom speaks only Spanish, so my dad told my mom.
Okay. And in that process communicated to them this plan?
Yes. Yes.
Now, were the kids at some point in time then delivered to your parents' house?
Yes, I negotiated for my kids. I told them I would give them myself in exchange for my parents being able to see my children.
Who did you talk to?
To Frank.
And did you tell him that you would?
Yes.
Go back to Neverland?
Yes, I negotiated for 1 hour. 1 hour. And I got 2. And then I got a day. And then I finally got 2 days.
All right. So by the time you got off the phone with Frank, it was understood that your kids would visit for how long?
For 2 days.
And that was a conversation that you had with Frank?
With Frank.
And you were placing that phone call to Frank, or he called you? Which?
Let me see. I had originally, as Jay's calling my parents, I'm calling Frank. And I'm letting him know.
So you called Frank?
Yes.
And you called from which telephone?
From Jay's apartment.
And you called Frank on the number that you had for him?
I think. I don't know whether it was his number or Neverland number, but on the other line was Frank, on the other end of the line.
Were your kids, in fact, delivered to your parents?
Yes.
Was it that day or the next day?
That day.
Were you present at the time?
And I was made aware that our every step is being watched.
Objection. Move to strike. Non-responsive.
Stricken.
Were you there at the time your kids were delivered to your parents' house?
No, I was.
Do you know what time it was that you finally saw your kids?
In the evening.
Did you go with Jay?
Yes.
All right. At the time you got to your parents' house, who is present? Who was there?
My mom and dad and my 3 children.
How were your children behaving at that time? Let me be more specific. How was Gavin behaving at the time you got there?
They were not my kids anymore.
Well, describe Gavin's behavior specifically, how he was behaving.
He didn't want to talk to Jay.
We're talking about Gavin right now.
Yeah.
Describe Gavin's behavior specifically.
Angry, violent. Yeah.
Did you tell him that he was not going back to Neverland?
Yeah.
And you say, angry, and, violent. What do you mean? Describe what he was doing or what he was saying.
Just hollering, telling me that. Yelling at me at the top of his lungs that Michael loves him, and that he had to go back.
All right. Were you the one telling him he wasn't going back?
That's right.
How long did his behavior continue that way?
For hours.
How long was it before his behavior was back to normal?
Objection. Assumes facts not in evidence, no foundation.
Overruled.
You can answer the question.
It took a long time.
And what is that, a long time? Give me a sense of it.
I can't.
Are we talking about days or weeks or months?
It took weeks.
Weeks? When did you tell either Frank or Vinny that none of you were going back to Neverland?
Excuse me. I didn't call Frank or Vinny. We contacted Jesus the very next day.
You contacted Jesus?
Yes.
Did you tell him?
Yes.
All right. What happened after you told Jesus?
And we weren't coming back. And the only reason we contacted Jesus was because when the children were leaving, Frank had taken away all of the new clothes that they had purchased, plus some of my children's clothing also in the removing the new clothes, because Frank had told them that they had to come back if they wanted their new clothes.
When they came to your mother's house, do you know if they actually had anything with them when they came?
Gavin wasn't allowed to bring nothing. 0.
And how about the other two?
The other two did bring their luggages and my bag with them.
Did you start receiving telephone calls or visits?
Yes.
All right.
Immediately.
And in terms of visits, who was it who came to the house?
It wasn't visiting. It was following us in a very, very visual way. Knocks. Throwing rocks. Following us. They weren't hiding about it. They were in my face type of attitude.
Do you know?
To come back.
Are we talking about people who now are new? People you hadn't seen people, or?
Okay.
Wait till the question is answered. Sick.
Okay.
Are you talking about people you hadn't seen before or people that you were familiar with?
People that I hadn't seen before. And also, in addition to that, new ones.
Among the people that you had seen before, tell us who they were.
The people that I seen before was Johnny, Frank and Vinny. And then some other people.
You actually saw Frank and Vinny at some location?
Yes.
Where?
At Jay's apartment. And I knew it, because I looked through the peephole.
Did you stay at your parents' house?
No.
Did you go to Jay's?
Jay's.
Did you stay any place but Jay's thereafter?
Only Jay's. And I enrolled Davellin, because I believe in, you know.
No, the question is whether you stayed at some other location.
No, just Jay's.
For what period of time did you stay at Jay's?
From that point on, till now.
Your Soto Street apartment was now vacated?
Gone.
You said that you saw Frank and Vinny at Jay's. Did you actually talk to them?
No, I didn't open the door.
You saw them through the peephole?
Yes, I did.
Both of them together or on different occasions?
Well, on this occasion they were both together.
Were they saying anything to you?
Yeah. Open the door. Just knocking.
Objection. Move to strike. Vague.
Sustained.
Do you know who it was who was talking to you through the door?
Frank. I could see him I could see everything.
Were you able to hear his voice?
Yes.
You could hear what he was saying?
Yes.
And did you recognize his voice?
Yes.
Did you engage either one of them in conversation through the door?
No. 0.
Did you acknowledge to them that you were there?
No. Didn't even want to let them know that I was there. But they knew. Because Frank was saying, I know you're in there.
Were you receiving telephone calls as well?
Yes.
Continuously?
Continuously.
Were you answering any of the calls?
No. No more answering.
Did you have any conversation with Vinny or Frank?
No.
Did you ever see Johnny?
Yes.
Okay. Where did you see Johnny?
On my front door. And also there was one time when I was watching through the peephole, he had slipped a note through the side of Jay's apartment. Before they had put this thing around there, it was open all the way around, and so he slipped a note through there. And I saw him writing it.
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Exhibit number 277, please, for identification. Have you seen that exhibit before?
Yes, I have.
Is that the note that you just described?
Yes, this is the note.
And how do you know that it was Johnny who left that note?
Because I'm looking at him while he's writing it. I'm looking at him as he's slipping it in.
Okay. And he left that note where?
At Jay's apartment.
And that's the note you then turned over to law enforcement?
Yes, I did.
Move to.
I put it in.
Move to admit that exhibit into evidence, please.
No objection.
It's admitted.
Your Honor, may I publish that note, please?
Yes.
Now, it appears there's something on the front and on the back. Is that correct?
Yes.
What is the back part? I'm assuming that's the back. What does that say?
It says, to Star or Gavin.
And then on the front it says?
It says, please call Frank, Vinny, at emergency, 1-805-686-5466. And it says, now, and it's underlined.
The top part's in red. Now, is in what color?
Blue.
And the back, to Star or Gavin, is?
In black.
Is that the front of the note that's 277, Exhibit 277? Miss Arvizo, is that, in fact, what we're looking at, the same thing?
Yes. Yes.
And I'm going to turn it over at this time. And this is the part that says, to Star or Gavin.
Yes.
Now, in response to that note, did you call either Star or Gavin?
No. No.
I'm sorry, did you call either Frank or Vinny in response to that?
No more. And then?
Do you recall at this point you had any conversations with Frank or Vinny?
No more.
For what period of time did this continue, the phone calls and things like that?
It went for months.
You said at one point stones were thrown?
Yes. At my mom's house.
Did you ever see who was doing that?
No, I didn't. Davellin saw him.
All right, but you were not present at the time it happened?
No, it was my mom and Davellin present.
Now, I think that you had also said that people were following you?
Yes.
How did you become aware of the fact that people were following you?
Because now they were in my face.
And explain what that means.
Meaning before, everything was being done a little bit secretly. And now it was, it was more intimidating than it was before. That's the best I can say.
Objection. Move to strike. Non-responsive.
Overruled. Next question.
Could you tell who was following you?
Yes. Johnny. And then some of those other people that I had told you I never came to know who they were. And this is the first time I also saw a female because the rest were always male. And then.
Did you recognize any of them, other than Johnny?
Only Johnny. And then they were replaced by some other people.
How were you aware of the fact that people were following you? What is it that you noticed specifically?
Well, I'm in the lane, they change the lane. I'm in a lane, they change a lane. I get off, they get off. I go to Jay's underground parking, they're right there. When Gavin went to church, one of these, there's, I don't know what kind of camera, but it's kind of like this, right there. Just right there, showing me that they're doing it.
Alright, now, at some point in time, were you actually shown video images of yourself and your family?
Barely now. Just the other day. Mr. Zonen showed it to me.
Alright, did you see other images at the time of the grand jury?
No.
Okay.
I didn't.
You have no recollection of seeing other images?
No.
Alright, Your Honor, exhibit number 813 is a DVD. I've consulted with counsel. We've agreed it can be played at this time. There's no sound, so there's no transcript. Now, you've had an opportunity to view these images in advance, is that correct?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Zonen.
And you have recognized the people in it, is that correct?
Yes.
How long is it?
I'm sorry?
How long is it?
5 minutes. 5, 6 minutes. About that, I think. If we can, let's go ahead. Excuse me 1 second. Part of this, as well, is of your apartment on Soto Street, is it not?
Yes.
There appears to be people moving your things out?
Yes.
And that's at the very end of it?
Yes.
Let me revise it. I think it's more like 10 minutes.
Is this the PC, number 1?
It is, Your Honor.
You're ready?
Yes. We're ready. Whereupon, a portion of a DVD, Plaintiff's Exhibit number 813, was played for the court and jury.
Your Honor, they added the title to that. I didn't approve that. That's nothing we've seen before. Mr. Zonen added it. It's not part of the original, so we object to this.
Well, all right.
We object on foundation and authenticity and that it's been tampered with.
All right.
I'd like to be heard on that issue.
You may, but maybe what we'll do.
All right, there is.
I think we'll excuse the jury, and let you discuss it with me. That way they'll get a little extra break here. Okay.
Are we back in session?
We are back in session. Mr. Mesereau.
Yes, Your Honor.
Maybe you want to. Can you move it back to the opening screen so we can look at what the objection was about?
While he's doing it, I can explain what the understanding was that we had that pre-existed the showing. It's up, Your Honor, if you go to Input 1.
This is what you were objecting to, Mr. Mesereau?
Yes, Your Honor.
I explained.
Could I have Mr. Mesereau's objection, so I fully understand it?
Yes, Your Honor. This particular wording is not part of the original tape. It's been added by the prosecution. It was not disclosed to me. It was done to influence the jury. There's been no foundation laid that these are Brad Miller's surveillance tapes at all. The numbers have been added by them.
So, to be specific, what we're looking at is the Brad Miller surveillance videotape. Item 811, 812, 816 and 815. And that was not on the...
No, not.
Not on the DVD that you saw?
Not that I have seen. They have laid no foundation to prove that Brad Miller arranged to have these tapes made. They have thrown different names around, Johnny and Asaf, etc. They have not ever proven who these people actually worked for. They haven't proven who did the surveillance. They haven't laid a foundation to where they found these tapes and whether or not they've been tampered with. There's no authenticity. There's no foundation. There's no logical connection, and they basically tampered with the tapes by adding these words.
Was there an agreement?
Not to have this. That's a surprise to me.
All right.
Well, counsel knows that they're not tampered with at all. And furthermore, we had a discussion in advance of showing this where I explained to counsel that there were 2 witnesses who will subsequently lay a foundation. The first witness who will testify that this is a compilation of tapes that were. It's put now onto one DVD that were, in fact, a compilation of tapes that were seized from, guess where? Brad Miller's office. And the second witness will be the one who actually seized the tapes from Brad Miller's office. Alright, now, the content of the surveillance thereafter is identical. Nobody has touched anything on there, and counsel knows that.
I don't know that.
I had asked him if it would be agreeable that we could show this in advance of the other 2 witnesses laying the foundation. 1, that they were seized from Brad Miller's office. And number 2, that they were compiled into one DVD for ease of showing at this time, and he agreed to that. My suggestion at this time is that you instruct the jury to disregard this frame on it, and we will commence the showing from the point where the car is in session.
We object on foundational and authenticity, Your Honor. And we'd ask that the individual tapes be played, not their concoction.
Well, I had asked his permission and he gave it to me to do so.
To play videotapes.
Wait a second. I am relying upon his representation of what he said he was agreeing for us to do.
Sounds like he thought you were going to play 2 separate.
No, he didn't. I made it.
Yes, I did. Nowhere was this ever described to me.
I made it very clear that we compiled it into one DVD. Now, this I did not say. This I didn't know was going to be shown.
What's the compilation? Is it a serial? Just the first one and then the second one?
Yes, one right after the other.
You intermixed the 2?
We can show it to you right now. It only takes a couple minutes, if you'd like to see it.
I thought you said 10 minutes.
The bulk of it is the cleaning out of the apartment, which is one separate tape, but the initial surveillance is less than 5 minutes, of different segments of surveillance.
I might suggest, Your Honor, that the cleaning out of the apartment, as I understand it, was to show what was being moved in or out, and it's not a surveillance tape. That is their concoction.
Once again, this was something counsel approved of.
No, I didn't.
He's lying. That's simply not true.
He's lying.
All right.
I'll take a polygraph.
You'll fail it.
Just a moment. I don't want to hear anything like that. You don't accuse each other of lying. There's a misunderstanding here. You've added something. And that's not professional conduct. I won't put up with that. Do you understand, Mr. Zonen?
Yes.
And you are not to respond to him. You two talk to me.
I apologize, Your Honor.
Now, I think what we'll do is, I will explain to the jury that the initial title of the tape was added by the district attorney, and they're to disregard that. That this is a compilation of 2 separate videos, and that it's being entered with.
Let me have just one moment, please. Let me have one moment.
If I may, Your Honor, it's 4 videos. They're made to look like one. They're not one at all.
Let me have just one moment.
All right. Off-the-record discussion held at counsel table.
If I may address the court, Your Honor.
Wait till he's through with his conference.
Sure. Off-the-record discussion held at counsel table.
Your Honor, we're going to play the original ones. We're going, as soon as we get it. We will not play this one. We will do the originals. We don't have them here. We're going to make arrangements to get them as quickly as we can.
All right. I think I find that to be an acceptable way to proceed. I do want to tell the jury, though, when they come back in that the initial title they saw was, in fact, added by you, and not part of the seized tapes. They were tapes, right?
Yes. The original videotapes have been transposed to a DVD.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ron, can I just have one moment?
Yes. Off-the-record discussion held at counsel table.
The problem that we're dealing with at this moment is that all of the detectives are currently at a funeral, and I'm not sure that we're going to be able to get. Are we?
Let me tell you. What we'll do is, we'll start our break now that we normally take at 1:15. So, the jury's already out, so we won't bring them back in. And we'll just start our break, and let's take a 20-minute break, and then you can decide how you're going to proceed on the break. What we do know is you're not going to.
I will be not showing this one. I will show the originals.
And I do want to remember, when they come back in, to tell them to disregard the opening title. And, okay, any objection to that?
No, Your Honor.
All right, let's start our break, then.
Can you go to black screen, Your Honor? Thank you.